The massive alien ship appeared without warning above Earth's largest space station. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ship was black as night and shaped like a giant blade. Red lights blinked along its edges like angry eyes. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center on Luna Base, watching the screens with growing worry. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars from old battles. His hands gripped the metal railing as he stared at the alien vessel. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Captain Roy Tucker. He was younger than the Admiral, but already famous for his skill in space battles. His fingers moved quickly over the control panels. The main screen flickered. Then an alien face appeared. It looked like a mix between a lizard and a bird, with yellow eyes and sharp teeth. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into English. "I am Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthon Empire. I speak for the Galactic Confederation. You will listen." President Danny Walsh stood in the White House Situation Room surrounded by his top advisors. He was a short man with kind eyes, but today those eyes were hard as steel. Around the room sat the most important people on Earth. Senator Helen Brooks leaned forward in her chair. She had spent years trying to make peace with the aliens. Now her face was pale with fear. "What do they want?" she whispered. The alien's voice continued from the speakers. "For too long, humans have been allowed to grow without control. You breed like insects. You build weapons like madmen. You ask too many questions and refuse to follow orders." Dr. Lisa Hamilton sat quietly in the corner. She was the smartest person on Earth when it came to building new weapons. Her brown hair was pulled back tight, and her green eyes showed no emotion. But inside, her mind was racing. "The Galactic Confederation has decided," the alien said. "Earth must surrender all military ships and weapons. You will accept limits on how many children you can have. You will do as we command. You have 48 hours to agree." The alien's image changed to show huge ships filling space around Earth. There were hundreds of them, each one massive and deadly. "If you refuse," Zethkar continued, "we will destroy every city on your planet. We will kill every human in space. Your species will end. This is not a request. This is an order." The screen went black. Nobody spoke for a long moment. The room was so quiet they could hear the air conditioning humming. President Walsh broke the silence. "Get me Admiral Morrison. Get me every military commander we have. We need to meet right now." 2 hours later, Earth's leaders sat around a big table deep underground. The walls were thick concrete, built to survive nuclear war. Today they might need to survive something much worse. Admiral Morrison entered the room carrying a black briefcase. Behind him walked Dr. Hamilton. She had flown from Luna Base in the fastest ship available. "Mr. President," the Admiral said, "what I'm about to show you is classified above top secret. Only 12 people on Earth know about this." He opened the briefcase and pulled out a tablet computer. With a few touches, the room's screens came alive with images. "For 30 years, we've been building ships in secret. Not just a few ships, thousands of them." The screens showed hidden bases inside asteroids, huge shipyards buried under the surface of Mars, construction facilities on the moons of Jupiter that nobody knew existed. Senator Brooks gasped. "How is this possible? Congress never approved funding for this." Dr. Hamilton spoke for the first time. Her voice was calm and steady. "The funding came from private companies, tech billionaires who were worried about the aliens. We told them we were building mining equipment and research stations." More images appeared. Ships that looked nothing like the slow, bulky vessels Earth used for trade with the aliens. These ships were sleek and fast, covered in weapons that seemed to bend light around them. "We call them ghost ships," Admiral Morrison explained. "They use new technology that Dr. Hamilton's team developed. Quantum drives that can jump short distances instantly. Plasma weapons that can cut through any armor. Computer systems that think faster than any alien mind." Captain Tucker stepped forward. He had been quiet until now, but his eyes were bright with excitement. "Sir, I've been training crews for these ships for 5 years. They're ready." President Walsh stood up slowly. His advisors watched him carefully, waiting to see what Earth's leader would decide. "How many ships do we have?" he asked. 8,000. Combat vessels, the Admiral replied. Plus support ships, supply vessels, and mobile bases. The aliens think we have maybe 50 old ships for defense. And you think we can win? Dr. Hamilton smiled for the first time all day. It was not a nice smile. Mr. President, the aliens haven't fought a real war in over 1,000 years. They're used to species that give up after the first threat. They have no idea what humans do when someone tries to push us around. The president walked to the window. Outside, he could see the lights of Washington, D.C., millions of people going about their lives, not knowing that their entire species was about to make the most important decision in human history. He turned back to the room. The aliens want us to surrender. They want us to become slaves. They think we'll roll over and accept it because that's what every other species has done. His voice grew louder and stronger. But we're not every other species. We're humans. And humans don't surrender. Not ever. He looked at each person in the room. I'm going to address the nation in 1 hour. I'm going to tell them that Earth chooses war. Total war against the Galactic Confederation. Admiral Morrison smiled. Sir, there's something else. Our quantum communication system has been secretly contacting human colonies throughout the galaxy. They're all ready to fight too. This isn't just Earth against the aliens. This is all of humanity. The president nodded. Then let's give the galaxy something they've never seen before. Let's show them what happens when you threaten the human race. As the meeting broke up, everyone moved quickly to their positions. In bunkers and bases across the solar system, thousands of ships began powering up their engines. Crews ran to their battle stations. Weapon systems came online. The aliens had given Earth 48 hours to surrender. They were about to learn that they had actually given humanity 48 hours to prepare for war, and humans were very good at preparing for war. The countdown timer showed 12 hours remaining when everything changed. Ambassador Zethkar stood on the bridge of his massive ship, watching Earth through the large windows. He expected to see surrender signals by now. Instead, he saw something impossible. Ships were appearing everywhere. They came out of asteroid fields like angry wasps from a nest. They rose from behind the moon like ghosts. They emerged from the darkness between planets, their engines glowing blue-white against the black of space. Where did they come from? Zethkar demanded. His voice was high with panic. His captain, a larger alien with 4 arms, checked the sensors again. I don't know, sir. Our scans showed only a few dozen human ships yesterday. Now there are thousands. On the bridge of the EDF Defiance, Captain Roy Tucker smiled as he watched the alien fleet scramble to respond. His ship was the biggest in the human fleet, but it was still much smaller than the alien command vessel. All ships, this is Tucker. Remember the plan. Stay fast, stay together, hit them where they don't expect it. Colonel Amy Foster led her fighter squadron in a wide arc around the alien fleet. Her ships were tiny compared to the massive alien vessels, but they moved like lightning. The aliens had never seen anything like them. Shadow Squadron, follow my lead. We're going to show these lizards how humans fight. The first shots came from the alien ships. Huge energy beams lanced out toward the human fleet. But the human ships weren't where the aliens expected them to be. Dr. Hamilton's quantum drives worked perfectly. Human ships could jump short distances instantly, appearing behind enemy lines before the aliens could turn their weapons around. Pete Williams, the chief engineer who had designed the quantum drives, watched from Luna Base as his creations went to work. The human ships danced between the alien vessels like sparrows attacking eagles. Jump coordinates locked, came the voice from one of the human ships. Jumping in 3, 2, 1. The ship vanished and reappeared right behind an alien cruiser. Plasma weapons, glowing white-hot, cut through the alien ship's armor like it was made of paper. The alien ship exploded in a ball of fire. The aliens tried to adapt, but they were too slow. Their massive ships had been built for fighting other massive ships in straight lines. They couldn't handle the human tactics of hit and run, appear, and disappear. Commander Nick Parker led the Mars Defense Fleet in a direct attack on the alien left flank. His ships moved in perfect formation, like a school of deadly fish. All ships, concentrate fire on their command ships. Take out their leaders and the rest will panic. The human plasma weapons proved devastating. Unlike the alien energy beams, which took time to charge and aim, The human weapons fired continuously. Streams of white-hot plasma tore through alien hulls, melting metal and destroying electronics. But the humans had another weapon the aliens had never encountered: psychological warfare. Captain Tucker opened communication channels to the alien ships and began speaking in their own languages. The human computers had learned alien speech patterns from years of diplomatic contact. "Alien vessels, this is Captain Tucker of Earth Defense. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and we will spare your lives." The aliens were confused. In their experience, the smaller force always surrendered to the larger one. They had never heard of a tiny fleet demanding that a massive fleet give up. Some of the alien captains actually began to consider surrender. Their ships were being destroyed faster than they could count. Human tactics made no sense to them, which made the humans even more dangerous. Colonel Foster's squadron reached the alien flagship. Her fighters were so small that the alien weapons couldn't target them properly. They swarmed around the massive ship like bees around a bear. "All fighters, target their weapon systems. Blind them before we board." The human fighters dove toward the alien ship, their guns blazing. Explosions rippled along the hull as defensive. Weapons were destroyed one by one. Then came the most shocking moment of the battle. Human Marines in powered armor launched from hidden ships and attached themselves to the alien hull. They began cutting through the metal with plasma torches. The aliens had not seen a successful boarding action in over 800 years. Most species considered it suicide to attack an enemy ship with soldiers instead of weapons. But humans were different. The Marine assault teams moved through the alien ship like a storm of destruction. Their powered armor made them stronger and faster than any alien. Their training made them deadlier than any creature the aliens had ever faced. The aliens fought back, but they were not ready for close combat. They had grown soft during centuries of easy victories. Their weapons were designed for ship-to-ship fighting, not for battles in narrow corridors. Within an hour, human Marines had captured the bridge of 3 alien ships. The alien crews surrendered rather than face more of the terrifying human soldiers. Admiral Morrison watched the battle from his command ship, feeling proud of his people. The plan was working better than he had hoped. "Sir," reported his communications. "Officer, we're receiving surrender signals from 12 alien vessels. They're asking for mercy." Morrison nodded. "Accept their surrender. Treat the prisoners well. We want word to spread that humans are honorable in victory." But the battle was not over. The largest alien ships still fought desperately. Their commanders knew that if they lost this battle, their empire would be seen as weak throughout the galaxy. Captain Tucker brought the Defiance into range of the alien flagship. The 2 ships exchanged fire at point-blank range. The alien ship was larger, but the human ship was faster and had better weapons. "All power to forward guns," Tucker ordered. "We're going to end this." The Defiance's main plasma cannon charged up with a sound like thunder. The weapon was Dr. Hamilton's masterpiece, designed to punch through any armor in the galaxy. The alien flagship's shields flickered and died under the sustained fire. Then the plasma beam hit the hull directly. The massive ship broke apart like a toy, its pieces spinning away into space. With their flagship destroyed, the remaining alien ships began to retreat, but Admiral Morrison wasn't finished with them yet. "All ships pursue the enemy. Don't let them escape to report back to their masters." The human fleet chased the fleeing aliens across the solar system. It was like watching wolves hunt deer. The human ships were smaller but much faster. One by one, the alien ships were caught and destroyed. Only a few alien vessels managed to escape into hyperspace. They carried news of humanity's victory back to the Galactic Confederation. When the battle ended, the space around Earth was filled with wreckage. Most of it was alien wreckage. The humans had lost only 37 ships out of their fleet of 8,000. The aliens had lost over 2,000 ships out of 3,000. But the real victory was not in numbers. It was in what the battle proved. For the first time in 1,000 years, a species had successfully fought back against the Galactic Confederation. The news would spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On distant worlds, oppressed species would hear the story and begin to hope. Maybe they didn't have to stay slaves forever. Maybe they could fight back too. In the halls of power on the alien homeworlds, emperors and overlords would hear the news and feel fear. If humans could win, what about other species? What if everyone started fighting back? Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship looking out at the stars. His aide approached with a message. "Sir, we're receiving communications from human colonies throughout the galaxy. They all want to know the same thing." "What's that?" "When do we attack the aliens on their own worlds?" Morrison smiled. The war was just beginning, but already he could see that humanity would never be the same. They had tasted victory against impossible odds. Now they wanted more. "Send a message to all human settlements," he said. "Tell them to prepare for war, real war. We're going to free this galaxy from alien rule, one system at a time." The Battle of Earth was over. But the human war for galactic freedom had just begun. Emperor Vorthon had ruled the galaxy for 300 years. He was ancient even by alien standards, his scaled skin marked with the scars of 1,000 battles, but he had not fought a real war in centuries. Now he stood in the throne room of his palace ship, listening to reports that made his blood run cold. The humans had not only refused to surrender, they had destroyed his finest fleet. "Impossible," he growled, his forearms gesturing angrily. "No species has ever defeated a Confederation fleet. The humans must have used some kind of trick." His military advisor, General Crickstar, shook his massive head. "My lord, our surviving ships report that human tactics were unlike anything we have seen. They fight without honor, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Then we will show them the price of defying the Confederation," the Emperor declared. "Summon fleets from all 12 member worlds. I want 50,000 ships, enough to blot out their sun." Across the galaxy, the call went out. Ancient species that had not fought together for millennia began preparing for war. The Zephyrians brought their bioships, living vessels grown rather than built. The Crystalline Collective sent their geometric vessels that could reshape themselves during battle. The Machine Lords contributed their automated fleets that needed no living crews. But while the aliens gathered their forces, humans were not. Idle Dr. Lisa Hamilton worked without sleep in her laboratory on Luna Base. Around her, teams of scientists reverse-engineered captured alien technology. Every piece of wreckage from the battle was studied and improved upon. "We have their shield frequencies," reported Dr. Kevin Reed, the head of biowarfare defense. He was a thin man with nervous energy, always moving and thinking. "Our weapons can now punch through their defenses on the first shot." Dr. Hamilton nodded, her eyes red from exhaustion. "What about their biological weapons?" "The intelligence reports say they're planning to use plagues against our colonies." "Already working on it," Reed replied with a grim smile. "But here's the interesting part. I've been studying alien biology from the prisoners we took. Each species has different immune systems. A plague that kills one species might be harmless to another. You're thinking of turning their weapon against them? Better than that. I'm thinking of creating targeted diseases that only affect specific alien species. Let's see how well their alliance holds together when they start getting sick from each other." Meanwhile, General Chris Martinez prepared Earth's ground forces for planetary invasions. He was a big man with kind eyes, but his mind was sharp as any blade when it came to warfare. "The aliens think in terms of orbital bombardment," he explained to his officers. "They bomb a planet from space, then land to accept surrender. They're not prepared for species that keep fighting after the bombing stops." His plans were simple but effective. Human colonies would go underground when alien fleets arrived. Hidden, bunkers and tunnel systems would protect civilians, while guerrilla fighters harassed alien ground forces. "Remember," Martinez told his commanders, "the aliens have never faced an enemy that refused to quit. They don't know how to fight a species that sees every defeat as just another reason to get angry." Commander Sarah Johnson captained the EDF Phantom, humanity's first true stealth ship. It was invisible to alien sensors and could travel deep into enemy territory without being detected. Her mission was reconnaissance, but she was planning something much more aggressive. Human intelligence had located the aliens' main supply bases. If those could be destroyed, the massive alien fleet would run out of fuel and ammunition far from home. "Stealth field is holding," reported her navigator. We're 20 light years behind enemy lines and they still don't know we're here. Johnson smiled. The alien fleet was huge but slow. It would take them months to reach Earth. That gave humanity time to prepare surprises. When the alien armada finally arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system, it was a sight that would have terrified any other species. 50,000 ships stretched across space like a metal continent. Their combined firepower could destroy 100 worlds. Emperor Vorthon himself commanded from the largest ship ever built. It was the size of a small moon, carrying weapons that could crack planets in half. This time there will be no mercy, the Emperor announced to his fleet commanders. Destroy their military forces, then use the bioweapons on their colonies. The humans will beg for the quick death we offered them before. But as the alien fleet moved deeper into the solar system, they began to encounter problems they had not expected. The first problem was that space around Earth was no longer empty. Dr. Hamilton's teams had been busy installing quantum field generators throughout the system. These devices created hyperspace inhibitors that prevented enemy ships from jumping away once they entered the trap. The second problem was that human tactics had evolved even further since the first battle. Admiral Morrison now commanded not just Earth's fleet, but ships from every human colony in the galaxy. The humans had spent months preparing for this moment. All ships remember the plan, Morrison broadcast. We're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to win the war. The human fleet was still outnumbered 6-1, but numbers didn't tell the whole story. Human ships were faster, more maneuverable, and equipped with weapons specifically designed to counter alien technology. The battle began with the aliens' traditional tactic of long-range bombardment. Massive energy beams reached across millions of kilometers, trying to destroy human ships before they could get close. But the human ships weren't where the aliens expected them to be. Colonel Foster, now promoted to general, led 1,000 fighters in a surprise attack on the alien fleet's flank. The fighters had been hiding in the asteroid belt, their engines cold and their weapons powered down. The aliens never saw them coming. All fighters, light them up, Foster ordered. 1,000 small ships suddenly appeared on alien sensors moving, fast and firing everything they had. The aliens tried to respond, but their huge ships couldn't turn quickly enough to target the swarm of human fighters. Meanwhile, Captain Tucker led a squadron of heavy cruisers straight into the center of the alien formation. It looked like suicide, but it was actually brilliant strategy. The alien ships were so large that they couldn't fire at the human ships without risking hitting their own vessels. Tucker's ships wove between the enemy fleet like sharks in a school of whales, causing chaos and confusion. Now you see why size isn't everything, Tucker muttered as his ship's guns tore through the hull of an alien dreadnought. Commander Johnson's stealth ship struck at the alien supply vessels far behind the main battle. These ships carried the fuel and ammunition that kept the massive fleet operational. Target their fuel storage, Johnson ordered. Let's see how scary they are when they're running on empty. Explosions rippled through the alien rearguard as supply ships erupted in balls of fire. The alien fleet began to run low on ammunition just as the battle was reaching its peak. But the aliens had one more weapon to use: biological warfare, Doctor. Reed watched from his laboratory as alien ships released clouds of engineered viruses toward human colonies. The diseases were designed to kill humans quickly and painfully. Deploy countermeasures, Reed ordered calmly. He had been expecting this moment for months. Human ships released their own clouds of microscopic machines. These nanobots sought out and destroyed the alien viruses before they could reach any human settlements. But Reed wasn't finished. His own biological weapons were ready to deploy. Sir, his assistant reported, the targeted viruses are ready for release. Reed nodded grimly. Do it. Let the aliens see what happens when they try to use our own tactics against us. New clouds spread from human ships toward the alien fleet, but these weren't designed to kill. They were designed to cause specific alien species to become violently ill while leaving their allies completely unaffected. Within hours, the alien fleet was in chaos. Zephyrian crews were vomiting and could barely function. Crystalline collective ships were dealing with crew members who couldn't think clearly. Machine Lord vessels found their organic components failing. But the worst part was that each species began to suspect that their allies had betrayed them. Trust between the alien races, built up over centuries, began to crumble in a matter of hours. Emperor Vorthan watched his perfect fleet falling apart and felt something he had not experienced in 3 centuries. Fear. "My lord," his advisor reported, 40% of our ships are reporting crew illness. The humans have weaponized disease against us. Impossible. No species has ever developed biological weapons that could affect multiple alien races. The humans have, my lord, and there's something else. Our supply lines are under attack. We're running low on fuel and ammunition. The Emperor's 4 hands clenched into fists. The humans were not fighting like any enemy he had ever faced. They attacked supply lines, used diseases as weapons, and refused to engage in honorable ship-to-ship combat. Then we will use the planet-killer weapons, he decided. If the humans will not surrender, we will destroy their worlds one by one until they beg for mercy. But even as he gave the order, the Emperor knew that something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Confederation was losing a war, and if the humans could win, what would stop other species from rebelling? The surrender ceremony took place aboard the EDF Defiance, the same ship that had fired the first shots of the war. Captain Tucker had never imagined his vessel would become the site where a galactic empire admitted defeat. Emperor Vorthan stood in the ship's main conference room, no longer wearing the golden armor of absolute power. His 4 arms hung at his sides in defeat. Around him stood the representatives of the 12 member species that had once controlled the galaxy. President Danny Walsh entered the room with Admiral Morrison and the other leaders of humanity. The president looked older than when the war had started, but his eyes held the satisfaction of a man who had kept his people free. "Emperor Vorthan," President Walsh said formally, "you requested this meeting to discuss terms of surrender." The old alien ruler raised his head slowly. "I never thought I would speak these words," he said in accented English. "The Galactic Confederation formally surrenders to the forces of humanity and their allies." The word allies was important. During the 6 months of war, dozens of species had joined the human cause. What had started as Earth against the galaxy had become a revolution that spread to every corner of known space. Dr. Lisa Hamilton sat at the negotiation table, no longer just a weapons designer, but one of the architects of the new galactic order. Her hair was streaked with gray from the stress of war, but her mind remained as sharp as ever. "The terms are simple," she said, reading from the prepared document. "All military forces of the former Confederation will be disbanded. No species will be forced to serve another species. All conquered worlds will be freed to govern themselves." Admiral Morrison leaned forward. "There will be no more empires in this galaxy, no species ruling over another through fear and force." The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. Some of them had ruled over subject species for thousands of years. The idea of equality between races was foreign to them, but they had seen what happened to those who opposed the new order. The Crystalline Collective had tried to continue fighting after the Emperor's surrender. Human forces had reduced their homeworld to rubble in less than a week. "What about punishment?" asked General Krickstar, the Emperor's former military advisor. "In our culture, the defeated are enslaved or executed." President Walsh smiled grimly. "That's exactly the kind of thinking that started this war. Humanity doesn't believe in enslaving entire species, but we do believe in justice." The justice was surprisingly gentle by galactic standards. War criminals would be tried and punished, but ordinary citizens of the former Confederation would be allowed to live in peace. The real punishment was the transformation of galactic society itself. Admiral Kate Bishop had been appointed as the first director of the Galactic Defense Force, a new organization designed to prevent any single species from dominating others. Her headquarters were on the former Confederation capital world, now renamed New Geneva. The old empire ruled through fear, Bishop explained to her diverse staff of humans and aliens. "We're going to keep the peace through cooperation and mutual defense." The defense force included ships and personnel from every species in the galaxy. Former enemies worked side by side, learning that cooperation was more effective than domination. Captain Bill Anderson had been promoted to Ambassador General, responsible for helping newly freed species establish their own governments. He traveled, constantly between worlds, teaching the principles of democracy and self-determination. On the world of Kethmore, Elder Sithara had become the first freely elected leader of the Kalari people in 8 centuries. The humans kept their promise, she told Anderson during his visit. They fought not to conquer us, but to free us. This is something new in the galaxy. Dr. Kevin Reed established the Galactic Health Organization, using his knowledge of biological warfare to instead combat diseases and plagues. His research teams included scientists from dozens of species, working together to improve life throughout the galaxy. It's funny, Reed told his colleagues. I spent the war learning how to kill aliens. Now I'm spending the peace learning how to heal them. The transformation wasn't always smooth. Some species had been slaves for so long that they didn't know how to govern themselves. Others had been rulers for so long that they couldn't accept equality with their former subjects. But humanity's example provided a model for how different groups could work together. Earth's own history of overcoming conflict between nations showed that former enemies could become allies. 10 years after the war's end, the galaxy was a very different place. Trade flourished between worlds that had never been allowed to communicate before. Scientific knowledge was shared freely instead of being hoarded by the ruling class. Art and culture flowed between species, creating new forms of beauty that no single race could have imagined alone. General Chris Martinez had established training academies on 100 worlds, teaching military tactics and strategy to the defense forces of newly free species. The curriculum emphasized protection over conquest, defense over aggression. The goal isn't to create super soldiers, Martinez explained to his instructors. The goal is to make sure no species ever has to face what humanity faced, the choice between slavery and total war. Dr. Alex Thompson founded the Institute for Interspecies Understanding, studying how different races could work together more effectively. His research helped prevent conflicts before they could grow into wars. The old Confederation lasted 1,000 years through force, Thompson wrote in his famous book, After Empire. The new galactic community will last much longer through cooperation. Commander Sarah Johnson led the exploration service, using her stealth ship experience to map unknown regions of the galaxy. Her scouts discovered dozens of new species and helped them join the galactic community as equals rather than subjects. Every new species we meet, Johnson reported, is amazed that we offer friendship instead of conquest. The reputation of the old empire was so terrible that many races hid from galactic civilization entirely. But perhaps the most important change was in how conflicts were resolved. The Galactic Council, headquartered on Earth, provided a forum where disagreements could be settled through negotiation rather than warfare. Representatives from every species had an equal voice, regardless of their military strength or technological advancement. President Walsh, now serving as the first Secretary General of the Galactic Council, often reflected on how much had changed since that day when the aliens had demanded Earth's surrender. They thought we would kneel, he told visitors to the council chambers. Instead, we taught the galaxy how to stand together. The memorial wall in the council building listed the names of every human who had died in the war. It stood next to similar walls honoring the dead from other species who had fought for freedom. But the most moving memorial was simpler, a small plaque that read, "To those who chose to fight rather than surrender, from a grateful galaxy." Emperor Vorthon, now an old alien living quietly on Earth, often visited that memorial. He had been given a small house in the countryside, far from the centers of power he had once controlled. Neighbors who knew his history were initially suspicious, but they gradually came to accept him as just another resident. He gardened, read books, and sometimes gave lectures at universities about the dangers of absolute power. "I ruled the galaxy for 300 years," he told students at one such lecture. "But I learned more about leadership in 10 years of peace than in 3 centuries of war." Children on Earth grew up hearing stories of the war, but to them it seemed like ancient history. They played with alien friends, learned alien languages in school, and dreamed of exploring strange new worlds as equals rather than conquerors. The galaxy had not become perfect. There were still conflicts, still problems to solve, still species, learning how to live together peacefully. But there was also something that had not existed for 1,000 years: hope for a better future. Humanity had set out to save themselves from alien conquest. Instead, they had saved the entire galaxy from the darkness of empire. And in doing so, they had proved that even when faced with impossible odds, even when ordered to surrender by the powers that ruled the stars, sometimes the best choice was to stand up and fight for what was right. The galaxy was no longer ruled by fear. It was guided by hope. And that, perhaps, was humanity's greatest victory of all. Admiral Morrison, now retired but still sharp in his old age, liked to tell young officers about the day the war began. "They gave us 48 hours to surrender," he would say with a smile. "Instead, we gave ourselves 48 hours to prepare for war. Best decision our species ever made." The war that was supposed to end humanity's independence had instead begun humanity's greatest adventure, teaching an entire galaxy how to be free. And the adventure was just beginning. The planet-killer weapons were the Galactic Confederation's ultimate threat. Each one was the size of a battleship and carried enough power to crack a world like an egg. Emperor Vorthen had 12 of them, and he was preparing to use every single one. Admiral Kate Bishop stood in the command center of her flagship, the EDF Retribution, studying intelligence reports that made her stomach turn. The aliens were moving their superweapons into position around human colonies. "How long do we have?" she asked her intelligence officer. 72 hours before they can fire the first one at New Tokyo Colony," came the reply. "After that, they'll destroy one human world every 12 hours until Earth surrenders." Bishop was known throughout the fleet as someone who never backed down from a fight. She had short red hair and eyes like ice, and she had never lost a battle in 20 years of service. "Then we don't have time for safe strategies," she said. "Get me Admiral Morrison." The communication screen lit up with Morrison's face. Behind him, she could see the chaos of the ongoing battle in Earth's solar system. "Kate, please tell me you have good news," Morrison said tiredly. The fleet commander looked older than his years, worn down by the responsibility of keeping humanity alive. "I have a plan, but you're not going to like it," Bishop replied. "I want to take the Deep Strike fleet straight to the galactic core, cut the head off the snake." Morrison was quiet for a long moment. The galactic core was the most heavily defended region of space in the known universe. No enemy fleet had ever successfully attacked it. "That's suicide, Kate. You'd be outnumbered, 1,000 to 1, maybe. But if we don't try, they'll kill every human in the galaxy one planet at a time. At least this way we go down fighting." Dr. Alex Thompson had been studying alien psychology for 30 years. He was a quiet man who preferred books to people, but his insights into how aliens thought had proved invaluable during the war. "Admiral Bishop is right," he said from his research station. "The Confederation's power comes from fear. If we can strike at their capital, it will shatter their image of invincibility." Thompson had discovered something important about the alien alliance. It wasn't held together by friendship or shared goals. It was held together by the belief that the Confederation was unstoppable. "Every species in their empire is watching this war," Thompson explained. "If we can prove that the core worlds are vulnerable, rebellions will start across the galaxy." Captain Bill Anderson led a very different kind of mission. While the fleets prepared for battle, he took a small diplomatic ship deep into alien territory. His job was to contact species that had been conquered by the Confederation centuries ago. Anderson was good at languages, and even better at understanding what people wanted to hear. He had gray hair and a gentle manner, but his mind was sharp as any weapon. His ship, the EDF Messenger, was disguised as an alien trading vessel. It carried no weapons, only communication equipment and hope. On the world of Kethmore, Anderson met with representatives of the Kalari people. They had been slaves for 800 years, forced to mine rare metals for their alien overlords. 30. "Humans are really winning?" asked Elder Sithara, her tentacled face showing disbelief. The great fleets of the Confederation are being defeated by a species we had never heard of. Not just winning, Anderson replied in her own language. We're teaching the galaxy that the Confederation can be beaten, but we need your help. The Kalari had dreamed of freedom for centuries, but they had never dared to act. Now, with news of human victories spreading across space, they began to believe that rebellion was possible. What do you need from us? The elder asked. When the time comes, rise up against your oppressors. You don't have to win. You just have to fight. Every species that rebels makes the Confederation weaker. Similar conversations were happening on a dozen worlds. The human war had inspired something the galaxy had not seen in a millennium: hope among the oppressed. Meanwhile, Admiral Bishop's deep strike fleet prepared for the most dangerous mission in human history. 2,000 ships, the fastest and most advanced in the human fleet, would attempt to reach the galactic core before the planet-killer weapons could be used. Remember, Bishop told her captains, we're not trying to conquer the galaxy, we're trying to save our people. Hit hard, hit fast, and get out alive if you can. The journey to the galactic core took 18 days of hard travel through hyperspace. Bishop's fleet had to avoid alien patrol routes and use secret navigation, data stolen from captured enemy ships. Dr. Hamilton had worked around the clock to upgrade the Deep Strike fleet's weapons and defenses. Each ship now carried quantum torpedoes that could phase through enemy shields, and armor that could regenerate itself after taking damage. The technology is as good as we can make it, Hamilton reported. But technology won't win this fight. It's going to come down to courage and determination. As the human fleet approached the galactic core, they discovered something that changed everything. The Confederation capital was not just heavily defended, it was defended by weapons that were millions of years old. Sir, reported the fleet's science officer, we're detecting massive automated defense systems. They appear to be from a much older civilization. Bishop studied the sensor readings with growing amazement. The galactic core was protected by machines left behind by whatever species had ruled the galaxy before the current Confederation. It looks like our aliens aren't the first empire to control this region, she said. Question is, are those old machines still working? They got their answer when the ancient defenses came online. Weapons platforms the size of moons began firing at everything in the system. They didn't distinguish between human ships and alien ships. Anything that moved became a target. The Confederation fleet that was supposed to defend the capital found itself fighting for survival against its own ancestors' weapons. Ships that had patrolled the core for centuries were destroyed in minutes by technology they didn't understand. Bishop saw the opportunity immediately. All ships take advantage of the chaos. The old machines are keeping the enemy busy. Find their command centers and destroy them while they're distracted. The human fleet split into smaller groups and dove toward the planets of the galactic core. Ancient weapons fire lit up space around them, but the humans were harder to hit than the massive alien ships. Captain Tucker, now commanding his own battle group, led an assault on the main military command planet. His ships dodged between the fire of automated defense systems while targeting alien installations on the surface. This is like fighting in the middle of a thunderstorm, Tucker muttered as energy beams crossed space around his ship. But at least the lightning is hitting them too. On another world, General Foster led Marine assault teams in attacks on government buildings. The ancient defenses had created so much confusion that alien security forces couldn't coordinate their response. Move fast, hit hard, get out, Foster ordered her troops. We're here to send a message, not to hold territory. The message was simple. Nowhere in the galaxy was safe from human attack. Emperor Vorthon watched his capital burning from the bridge of his personal flagship. Ancient weapons that had protected his ancestors for millions of years were now destroying his fleet. Human ships darted between the defensive fire like deadly insects. How is this possible? He demanded. The core worlds have never been successfully attacked. My lord, his advisor replied shakily. The humans fight like no species we have ever encountered. They adapt to any situation and turn our own strength against us. The Emperor's four hands trembled with rage and fear. His empire, which had seemed eternal just months ago, was falling apart around him. Reports came in from across the galaxy. Rebellions were breaking out on dozens of worlds. Species that had been loyal for centuries were turning against their Confederation overlords. The Kalari had blown up their mining facilities rather than continue working as slaves. The Moth people of Zeridian had destroyed their tribute ships rather than send them to the capital. Even some of the Confederation's own member species were questioning whether they should continue supporting the war against humanity. "My lord," came an urgent communication. "The planet killer weapons are under attack. Human forces have infiltrated 3 of the weapon platforms." Vorthan felt his heart stop. If the humans captured or destroyed the superweapons, he would lose his ultimate threat against their worlds. "Send all available ships to protect the planet killers," he ordered. "They must not fall into human hands." But even as he gave the command, the Emperor knew it was too late. The humans had planned too well and moved too quickly. In the space around New Tokyo Colony, Commander Johnson's stealth ships attached explosive devices to one of the planet killer weapons. The massive device exploded like a new sun, taking 3 alien escort ships with it. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as human special forces struck at the superweapons. Of the 12 planet killers, only 4 survived the coordinated attacks. Back at the galactic core, Admiral Bishop made a decision that would change the course of the war. Instead of retreating with her mission accomplished, she chose to stay and fight. The ancient defense systems were destroying alien ships faster than humans could, and she realized this was humanity's best chance to end the war completely.